We're going to move on to our next speakers, and I'm going to introduce Stephen and Iesha together. They're both going to be presenting on the Building Improvement Toolkit, also known as BIP Building. So first we have Stephen Ward, who's the program manager of BIP Building at Southface Energy Institute. Stephen leads BIP Building, helping translate everyday building operations into measurable sustainability, performance, and resilience outcomes. He also helps manage Southface's campus, a living lab for sustainable building practices. It's right here in downtown Atlanta, and regularly shares his expertise through national conferences, industry partnerships, and podcasts. Stephen previously served on the LEED version 5 consensus committee, and his background in music performance from the Juilliard School continues to inform his systems thinking, human-centered approach to sustainability. And then next we have Iesha Baldwin, Sustainability Coordinator from Spelman College. Iesha serves as Spelman's inaugural Sustainability Coordinator and manages Sustainable Spelman, the college's campus-wide sustainability initiative. She also serves as Principal Investigator for the Building Improvement Toolkit Program, Building, advancing building performance, reducing environmental impacts, and creating hands-on learning opportunities in clean tech and clean energy. A Spelman graduate in environmental studies, Baldwin also brings more than a decade of experience in sustainability strategy, environmental innovation, and workforce development, including roles at Georgia Tech's Manufacturing Institute, Freudenberg, NOK Sealing Technologies, and UC Davis. Her work reflects a commitment to advancing sustainability leadership while preparing students for future careers in the field. Thank you so much, Iesha and Stephen, for being here today. I'll pass it off to y'all.
Thank you, Gretchen, for that. Let me see if I can share the proper screen. I always have challenges with this. I need my 14-year-old niece right here next to me telling me, Uncle Stephen, click that. Don't click that. Don't share that. Okay. All right. Can you all see my screen? Yes. Okay. Let's hope it holds. So thank you, Gretchen, just for this invite to share a little bit about one of my favorite programs that is part of the Building Improvement Toolkit, or building department here at Southface, and that's our BIT for resilient HBCUs. Our roadmap for today is just share a little bit about briefly about Southface, so you kind of know where we are and what we do, and then talk a little bit about the missing link that we find in building performance, kind of how we are turning campuses into living labs, and then building momentum across the US and beyond, just with this type of program. And then Iesha, even though it is reunion week at Spelman, has carved out time in her very busy schedule to share a little bit of her insights in this program. So I'm so happy that not only that she's a key partner with us in this, but has made time to speak about her experience today. So a little bit about Southface, as Gretchen mentioned, we're based here in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been around for almost 50 years. And even though that is our official mission, I'd like to say our unofficial mission is that we really try and make sustainability as accessible as possible, and kind of help folks understand and kind of remove the veneer that sustainability is for a certain type of person, or for a certain class of building, or costs a lot of money, or is for a smelly hippie, or is for folks in Silicon Valley, and really remind folks that we all have a part to play in a more sustainable world. Anytime we open a door, anytime we leave a window open, anytime we don't turn off a light, all of that plays a role in how we are engaging and being better stewards in our environment. And Southface really tries to help folks connect the dots between how their everyday behaviors can really have a huge impact in the sustainability world. Our services across the entire life cycle of the building kind of span every part of it. So we help folks design and plan and find financing for sustainable projects, help folks to construct in a sustainable way, as well as provide inspections to ensure that they are actually doing what they are supposed to be doing. Where my team falls is under the occupy, operate, and maintain piece. So that's kind of the longest part of a building's life cycle, yet tends to be the most unsexiest. So trying to get folks to understand how much their everyday behaviors plays in the part of a more sustainable building. And then we have our workforce and certification and training piece of our company. But most importantly, what I really like about Southface is that we really walk the sustainability walk. So our campus serves as a living lab where we showcase sustainable operations in real life. So kind of post-COVID, we were able to provide folks with free tours to come into the building and see this in real life. So we have a PV array, we have a green roof. We even compost our own human waste. So go in this toilet here on the third floor, and it goes into this composting tank, and there are earthworms, beetles, bugs, and they eat it up and they poop it out, and it turns into usable compost that you can use in your own garden, or in your own non-vegetable garden. So anyway, we have other stuff. So come on and check us out if you're in the Atlanta area, because we really try and, again, make sustainability accessible by providing this kind of touch-feely part of our campus. So to get to the actual presentation, missing link we found in building performance, right? In the Southeast, we have a lot of Southern realities, right? A unique building and operational challenges like long cooling seasons, high humidity, severe storms, aging building infrastructure. Many communities, especially here, lack enough trained folks to support kind of the long-term building performance, especially once the building is built. Folks tend to think, if I have this great building that was built in a sustainable way, it will magically operate itself. It does not. Technology alone does not solve the problem. And to that note, buildings perform better when the people inside them actually know how the building should operate. Because, right, buildings don't save energy, people do. So that's the space we try and play in, is how can we get folks to understand how their everyday behaviors really help to ensure that we are being good stewards of our environment, but turning people into the conduits to enact change. So the Bit for Resilient HBCUs program was really born out of UNCF's HBCU Climate Action Blueprint, which really outlines kind of this community-driven piece that already takes HBCUs as trusted centers of their community, and how can they become climate action hubs. And so the Bit for Resilient program trains students to be drivers of that change, really using this framework of the HBCU Climate Action Blueprint. It's online, so I highly suggest to check it out. It's really beautifully written and great for framework for turning really any institution into a climate action hub, especially as a center of the community. So that's what it is. So it activates that climate action hub. So that's where we created the Bit for Resilient HBCUs program. And so what it is it's a 3-year partnership between us and our prime funder, Sustain Our Future Foundation. And then we have additional support from the Environmental Defense Fund and REGO. And the idea is to support HBCUs and becoming these climate action hubs. And we do that through that student career development and training students on how to become champions of change. So more on that. The goals of the program kind of 5, 5, and 5. So we're establishing 5 HBCUs. We're training and credentialing 25 student fellows, and then those 25 student fellows will then go out into the community and support 25 community-based organizations. And so this first goal was to establish these climate action hubs. So we have Clark at Atlanta as one of the 5. Xavier, don't say Xavier, you will get canceled. You have to say Xavier. Ask me how I know that. Morgan State, Spelman, of course, Iesha's here, and then Texas Southern University. And so we have a dedicated platform where the students use in order to record their changes and to, not record their changes, record their efficiencies, learning, and tools for them to be champions of change. Next piece is we're training 25 student fellows. And so on your screen, unfortunately, you only see 24 here. One of them unfortunately had to drop out, but these are them. These are actually our student fellows from all 5 institutions. And so we met with them twice a week in virtual sessions. And then at the end of this semester, they're all supposed to earn their Green Professionals Operations and Maintenance Essentials certificate to become BIT practitioners. And so those micro credentials that were very important to them to showcase, like, I know what I'm talking about. So happy that to have them be in our first cohort. And then each student on each campus, there are five students per campus, each has their own roles. We have our energy champion, water champion, waste champion, indoor air IAQ champion, and then a storyteller, which we find is one of the most important components, because as building science folks, as engineers, all of that, we kind of get in our heads and start to speak jargon that we think people are understanding, and trust me, they're not. So having this storyteller having this storyteller as a student fellow role really helps us broaden its impact, because they can help us connect those dots to what is going to resonate with their student network. From there's this hands-on learning piece. So each champion has their own toolkit. So the energy champion has like the watt meter and smoke pencil and thermal imaging camera. Water champion has tools, waste, all of that. But the idea is they're not just reading stuff off a page. They are then practicing this in real life with real life tools for them to assess their buildings and learning labs to understand how it operates. And then, of course, understand how to make solutions to make it operate better. So it's a really key component in keeping them engaged, so that they have a better understanding of how buildings work using real life tools. And part of this program is also to help them reframe sustainability, so they understand kind of what their impact is downstream, right? We had a poll early on. We were like, how many of you leave the lights on in your dorms? And one was really honest. She was like, I don't pay the bill, so I don't care. I leave it on. But when we started to connect the dots, it's like there is a human element behind you making the choice to leave your light on. So instead of just I turned off a light, it's like when I choose to turn off a light, I'm not just saving energy, but I'm helping those and I'm helping to lower the pollution that often affects communities living near power plants, which happen to be or tend to be communities of color. So having them be able to connect the dots has been very powerful in them understanding how much power they have in just their everyday actions, and then be able to communicate that with their own networks. And so this first semester, what have they learned? Quickly, identified operational issues. Indoor environmental quality was one of the top ones, then waste. And sustainability efforts exist on their campuses, but it's hard for that to bubble up to the broader student network. And then they're motivated by kind of this hands-on component. So that was the first semester, and then we continue into the second semester in the fall. And in addition to just identifying issues, we wanted them to say, okay, now what are some creative, peer accessible solutions that you can share? So this is Kelsey from Spelman, and we asked each champion to provide some sort of video of them correcting the issue in the space. At Spelman, indoor air quality was one of those issues, especially stuffiness in labs. And so here's Kelsey's very short video, which I think is
This is Kelsey Harp, Spelman College's indoor air quality champion. This is an air filter. Feeling stuffy in the lab? Then turn it on.
Right, so simple, fun, playful. So again, just being able for them to be our storyteller champions, like what is going to resonate with your students, right? And so that's been a fun exercise. And then as of last month, all of them have earned their G Pro O&M certificate. So we're really happy for them so that they can move into the following semester. And then next semester is when they take what they have learned in the learning labs and then go out into the community and start to practice what they have learned. And that is what starts to tie in the HBCU as the climate action hub, right? Because, oh, if I have an issue, I know that Spelman, Clark Atlanta, Howard, et cetera, has this program where students can come up and help me understand what my issues might be. So I know I'm out of time. So scalability, right? We hope to train the trainer model and technical training help to position HBCUs as that center of the community. And then some long-term revenue opportunity, right? And so, once students are trained in doing these basic assessment, what are some potential ways for this to start to fund itself by the community starting to work with the campus? But with that, I'm so excited again to turn over to my colleague at Spelman, Iesha, just to share a little bit about her experience on with the Bit for Resilient HBCUs at Spelman.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you for the invitation to Gretchen and Stephen and Samantha. I really, really appreciate being here and being able to talk about the BIT program and its impact on our campus. And for those who are probably trying to do calculations in their heads about how I have probably over 10 decades of experience, I started really, really young. It's funny because this is, again, a continuation of workforce development that started when I was a freshman in college. And I was talking to Stephen earlier and how my first internship was at the Grand Canyon National Park. So learning about workforce and how it ties into other fields is what I am now doing at Spelman. So with that being said, I'd like to start with a poll for the audience. So if you can raise your hand, if you went through an official workforce program, you can use the raise your hand button below, just so that I can get an idea of who's gone through sort of a training program, an official training program before related to building science. So the other question I have is, how many people wish they went through one? You can also put in the chat if you are unable to raise your hand. Okay.
I see a few raised hands coming up here. 4 total, including me and Stefan. So
yeah, so this is exactly the problem that Southface in collaboration with that we're solving in a collaboration with Southface and Sustain Our Future and our other partners, because we couldn't do this alone, because it takes a lot of people with certain skills already to then share those skills with other people, our students, faculty, and staff who are also learning about the built environment. One of the goals that we have at Spelman is to increase our infrastructure literacy for across our campus, because people tend to not think about infrastructure. They think about infrastructure is like air. We just take it for granted. And so this is part of the reason why we are really digging more into storytelling and helping our campus understand that, like Stephen said, and my supervisor, Art Frazier, who's our director of facilities and an architect, he also shares that it is how the building is one part, but how we live and work inside of the buildings are also really critical. And so infrastructure literacy is one of our key focuses for our campus. And we are working closely with organizations who understand infrastructure and how we can then live and operate within infrastructure so that we are sustaining our buildings, maintaining our buildings, and even building more buildings that have cool technologies in them. The other part that I wanted to mention for our campus and our students is that the big question that people have is, how do you get students interested in careers in the built environment? Because I think the assumption is younger people don't want to work in the built environment. They want cool tech jobs. They want those types of opportunities. But I think that is an assumption that isn't necessarily true. Like Maggie was talking about earlier, she was saying how things are changing. So we need analysts. There's different jobs in the market that are available now that weren't available 20 years ago. And how do we prepare our students to have those opportunities, be ready for those opportunities post-graduation? So that's something that the Building program is also doing. We have our students learning about data analytics. They're learning those soft skills that Maggie was referring to earlier, because they're learning about how to connect with community people, because academic language versus community language are two different languages. So how you communicate within academic settings, higher education, that's not the same as how you would communicate with Miss Pam who lives down the street. So how do you and that's part of what Southface is doing, is helping our students. And it helps that Spelman is also liberal arts education. So we do appreciate those soft skills. And Southface is also helping a lot with that, and helping our students feel confident to then go down the street and talk to Miss Pam and have her feel comfortable to then learn more about these technologies that can reduce her energy bill and save energy savings across her building. And then it's a domino effect. So then she tells her neighbors. So these are the hopes of the program. And so far, I would say it's running quite smoothly, and I'm really grateful for the partnership that we have with Southface. And if you are in the Atlanta area, I will also invite you all to come to an event that Southface and Spelman are hosting together on Saturday, because we'll be talking more about clean technology and innovation, and how this leads to a stronger workforce for Georgia and the global economy as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate all that insight, y'all. I wish there were programs like that where I was growing up. They just sound really wonderful. And I'm wondering, Iesha, what you just talked to, is there like a flyer or something we can share with folks for that? Because it sounded like we do have some folks in the room who might.
I will put it in the chat, and I'm putting it in the chat right now. And feel free, if you have any questions about it, I'll also put my LinkedIn here, and you can reach out and ask me questions that you may have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And you were kind of talking to this. I think we have a lot of folks simmering with everything today, but you were talking about a little bit about the differences in working in university versus outside of university. And I'm wondering if you both have like one sentence extra insight you could give to what some of those roadblocks are for collaborating with universities when it comes to the energy apprenticeship internship program specifically that you've seen in the communities you've worked with, to give insight to folks who are thinking of kicking these off.
Yes, thank you, Samantha. That's a really good question. I would say that part of the roadblocks that we tend to have with community-based organizations is one, if they're not in the energy space or the building science space, then it's sometimes hard for them to see how they fit into the space. So that's part of the roadblock, which is also part of the reason why the Building program has a storyteller fellow, because we are really, like, we believe storytelling is infrastructure, and it allows us to materialize some of the concepts that we have in our brains that we want to then get into the world. So making sure that we're crafting these stories to the community in a way that they can then say yes to an opportunity that's presented.
Yeah, I would say just being in academia can be in a bubble, and so it can be hard to come out of that bubble. But I like to try to approach every situation like nobody hates the environment. I don't know anyone I've met say, you know what, I hate this environment. Like even to the most right-wing hunter, right? They still want clean water, fresh air, affordable energy. And so if you can get out of like our heads and start to say, okay, how can I approach this to have some common ground? Like I like clean water. Don't you? Who's going to say no to that, right? And so try to take that approach because academia is easier to get into the books. So the book says it's this way, therefore the world operates like this. And it's like, no, not really. And people, still have that same approach. It's just that it might be a different path that they're going to take. So just try to have an open mind and say nobody hates the environment. They just might speak a different language. So perhaps don't speak dirty hippie to them. Perhaps speak, I don't know, rifle association to them or whatever it is, but some way to help across that perceived gap that really is not a huge gap at all. It's more semantics. And so that's why the storyteller role is so important. Is how can we, help us broaden our impact through our language.
Exactly. And I know we're short on time, but I really wanted to share another nugget and of gratitude for Southface because it's been an incredible experience. We have fellows across different disciplines. And typically when people think of buildings, they immediately gravitate towards like engineers or when they think of energy savings, they immediately think like environmental science or, someone in that field. But we've been able to connect with students across so many disciplines that have a role in the role of in the facilitation of getting this industry where it wants to be to where it wants to be. So we're very grateful for that. And also, like I know that a big part of this space is maintaining the buildings, which is really good because it allows us to sort of use innovation of this program because it's higher education, and essentially higher education is research. So this program allows us to really build our play with building improvements in a way that connects to research. So that's also a plus from a higher education point of view.
I had one quick question. I know we're squeezed here a little bit, but I wanted to hear about, I guess, from your perspective, Iesha, this I believe this is a 3-year partnership. Is that what y'all said? So what happens after that 3 years? What does sustainability look like at Spelman, Iesha? And then Stephen, what's next for BIT? Are you looking for other partners? You may be amongst friends here or in a crowd that, might be able to help with that. But what's sustainability look like in terms programmatically for both of you in your organizations?
Stephen, you can go first.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So yes, thank you for bringing that up, Gretchen. This is cohort 1. We're trying to line up cohort 2, 3, 4, 5, 50, 67, all that. And so yes, this first cohort ends in the end of this year. And so we are looking for funding for the next 5, but also to be able to maintain this at the current institutions that they're already at, so that it does not end there, and so we can continue to have champions on each campus. Because ideally, the goal is, how can we make this sexy? And I'm gonna get canceled for using that term, but when people like, I don't know, influencers start to say, hey, I turned off the light. Aren't I cool? And people are like, oh, I'm going to turn off a light too. Like that's really the goal here. So any way to partner and expand this reach beyond HBCUs is really kind of bit for higher learning. It's just HBCUs has been the first cohort. So anyone who wants to join, we're happy to have you, because it's all about, everyday human behaviors and how we can help folks really make an impact through everyday behavior. So thank you, Iesha, for letting.
Yeah. And so for us at Spelman, we really believe in this program, and we which is part of the reason why we found a home for it on our campus, even after like the funding not disappears, but after the funding period, so we can continue this and continue raising money for it and continue inviting more students to participate past the end of the year. So this is something that we believe in, and we see Southface are the experts in this space. And we always rely on the experts to help us with training our students and our staff and our faculty to learn more about the areas of expertise. And it's higher ed, so we move a lot slower than the experts, because we're not, we're about research and education, which is great, but it's different from the industry that focuses solely on a specific thing. So we hope that we can continue this partnership with Southface, because we really do rely on them to help us moving forward and keeping up with all of the changes that happen rapidly within the building space.
Great. Thank you both for sharing your time and expertise today, and the great work that you're doing together in this really special collaboration. So